What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Mandarin Metal, and today we're playing some more F1, and we're in Austria. We're at the RedBull Ring. This is going to be an exciting race. We've added some activities into the calendar, focusing on some team development, bringing some income in, and also on our driver. And we get asked the question, who do we want a rival to be? But Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez is quite crazy. I don't think we're gonna choose any one of them because they're the top drivers at the moment. And yeah, so a lot of our parts that failed in our previous race that we were hoping to get in Spain are gonna come through today. So this means that we should be a lot quicker, and yeah, this is gonna be exciting. But then we get hit with a massive failure. And this is not what we wanted to see. This is a major failure on our part, and we need to redevelop this, and it's only going to come just before the Hungarian Grand Prix. Now, that engine power would have been nice, especially for a track like this. While getting prepared for the weekend, we see that it is a full wet weekend. We have a wet practice session, a wet qualifying, a wet sprint race, and a wet race. Well, let's see. Are we able to manage our car? Are we able to perform the way we want to at this track with all these new upgrades? We head out for our track acclimatization program. We are trying to learn this track, especially in the wet. This would be my first time racing here in the wet. And this is a big challenge. But it's okay, we are going to manage it. The first lap of our track acclimatization program, we failed, rightly so. We weren't running through the corners quite well. The second lap, we did a lot better, mainly in the middle sector where we suffered quite a bit. But then on our third lap and our final lap, we did actually quite well. We almost get a perfect lap on our third run, which is what we wanted. And our tires are slowly overheating, so when we get to the pits we will need to lower the tire pressure. It just means that we've put too much air into the tires and we just need to decrease them a little bit. Skipping through a lot of the session, we're going to focus on race strategy now. We want to do a lot of our running now. We aren't going to do practice 2 because we don't want to put unnecessary wear on any of our components. And this is why you'll see a lot of the time I will skip through practice 2 or practice 3 just to kind of limit the amount of wear we put on our car. And we were hitting some decent pace with our race strategy. No issues on that side of the program. And we can see here our tire wear is absolutely amazing. The tire wear was quite low, and we weren't burning through a lot of fuel either. And we are currently 4th, and our teammate is 5th. That's a big shocker because he's been so far away from us in the last couple of races. And we head out for our final practice program, and this is going to be tire wear. And if you're new to the channel, tire wear is very important for F1. The more you can get out of the tires, the better it is for your car and for the race. We generally want to go as long as possible on a set of tires and then kind of have an offset with the guys around us, because if we have a lap or 2 younger tires, we're going to be a lot quicker than them towards the end of the race. So this is something that you need to think of, and it is something you do need to consider. With all the upgrades that we have brought through to Austria, we have decent tire wear upgrades, so we've kind of decreased our tire wear usage. This means that we are able to go a lot longer in the race. Our tire wear usage isn't as high as what it was in previous races. Makes it nice, makes it fun. Means that we can really play with our strategies coming through to the Grand Prix and even the sprint races. So that's very nice. And those are all 3 practice programs. We managed to complete everything within practice 1, and we had the fastest, not the fastest lap, but we put in a 107.2, 4/10 off of Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen, and Lewis Hamilton finishing off the top 4. And now we're going to go to qualifying. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to F1, what happens now is we are going to do qualifying for the sprint race. And whatever position you finish in the sprint race, that is your starting position for the actual race. Heading into qualifying, we can see it is dry at the moment and there is some forecast for rain. So we need to get out as quickly as possible, not worrying too much about everyone around us. And hopefully we can make it into Q2. We haven't really done any running on the soft tires, so let's have a look. We go out and we do set a banker time. It gets us a 106.8, but we're going to ride on board for our 3rd lap over here. Now, down into turn 1, heavy braking zone, get a good exit out of turn 1, up into 4th, 5th, DRS wide open. This is your 2nd DRS zone. It's a steady incline all the way up to turn 3. Heavy braking zone again, making sure you get good rotation on the car. You don't want to send your car wide, and we do get a much better rotation, but we are still 2/10 down. Currently in 5th place, approaching turn 4. This is your 3rd DRS zone. Heavy braking zone, get a good exit here. You don't want to touch the curbs, otherwise you do spin your car. You don't want to get any wheel spin. Then turn 5, approaching turn 6. Get a good exit out of turn 6. It sets you up for the final sector. Approaching the final sector, we are still currently 1/10 down, but we're clawing back some time. And where are we? We are approaching turn 9. Currently not a lot of time up, but here we go. We are 2/10 up, getting a good exit out of the final corner, approaching the line. We are currently 2/10 up, and where does it put us? It puts us P3. So we improved our lap time to a 106.5. Good lap time. Let's hope that it gets us into Q2. It should be enough to get us into Q2. We don't want to overuse our tires, and yes it is. We end up in P8. George Russell, Fernando Alonso, and Lewis Hamilton are your top 3 for Q1. But this means that the rain is set to come, and Q2 seems to be wet. Now, one thing we don't want to forget is that we don't have an unlimited supply of intermediate tires. We need to be conservative with these tires. We don't want to overuse them, and we also don't want to use too many of them, because we have still a sprint race to go and we still have a full race to go. We are going to go out on a set of intermediates, but we're going to also keep them, and that is going to be the tire that we use for the whole session. We don't want to overuse. We don't want to fall victim to what happened in Imola, when we had no tires and we had completely forgot about our tires. So we don't need to do that. We did wait quite late in the session. I felt, again, we didn't want to use too many of our intermediate tires, so we do go out hoping to set the fastest lap. We have enough fuel for 2 laps, and then we'll go again. And now we are approaching the end of our first lap. We're going through turn 10 right about now, and get a good exit here, and we approach the line, and it gives us a 114.7. It is the fastest lap of the Grand Prix at the moment. Everyone is now out on the track, and we are going to have our final Q2 lap. Are we able to improve? Will this be enough to get us into Q3? We are currently 1/10 up, going up the hill, approaching turn 3. No DRS in the rain, so we don't need to worry about that. Get a good exit out of turn 3, and there we can see 3/10 up. No DRS at the moment. 6th gear, up into 7th, then slowly into 8th, approaching turn 4. Over here, get a nice exit, keeping the car on the track. A little bit of oversteer, not too much, but we are able to manage it. And now, approaching turn 6. Again, trying to get a good exit out of turn 6, set yourself up for this final sector. It's a very quick sector. We set the fastest middle sector. 3 tenths up, coming out of turn 8, approaching turn 9. And everyone else just behind us. Turn 9, keep it nice and clean. There we go. Get a good exit here. Approaching turn 10, get a better exit. We are 4 tenths up, almost 5 tenths up, and we do improve our lap time to a 1:14.2. Is this going to be enough for Q3? And no, it isn't. We were 1.1 seconds down towards the end of that lap. We had completely misjudged the tire situation and the rain because everyone else around us had improved. Now we are heading into the sprint race.
And we're expecting those downpours to continue. This will make for a difficult sprint for all the teams. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, Russell, Verstappen, Perez, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Iceman, Bottas, Ricciardo, Ocon, Magnussen, Joe, Albon, Tsunoda, Fittipaldi, and Logan Sargent. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
And there you have it, guys. That is the sprint race classification with a shocking end to Q2. We're starting further back than what we expected. We're currently in P13. There's 12 laps to the sprint race, and hopefully we're able to make some good overtakes and have a good race. And it is 5 lights, and away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix. The RedBull Ring getting a good start, trying to avoid all contact with these guys ahead of us. Going around 2, 3 cars, getting a decent exit, trying to avoid contact. Gasly just in front of us. We are now currently in P11, running up to turn 3. Guys, just on the down the inside of 2 cars, almost running into the back of Piastri. He was a little slow going out of that corner, getting a good exit here. Norris now, next up on the chopping block. We have a little bit more pace than him, but he does outbrake us, and we go down the inside of Norris at turn 4. Almost running into the back of Perez. And now, hopefully the race will settle. We are currently in P7. We have made up a hell of a lot of places in the first lap of this Grand Prix. Our pace is looking very good. We just need to keep with it. Hopefully, there are no other surprises in this race. We don't need to struggle any more than what we have been. We are on the charge. Perez just in front of us, approaching the end of the first lap of this sprint race. Perez 5 tenths. Get a good exit out of turn 10. And unfortunately there is no DRS, so we have to do all this without DRS. We just have to be a lot quicker than the guys around us. And you can see we are catching Perez very quickly. Russell is in P5 up into 8th gear, using as much of the overtake as possible, and we are going to dive down the inside of Perez, who almost ran into the back of him. We almost misjudged our braking zone there, but we managed to keep it on track. Now P3, Russell is the next on our chopping block. We are very fast at the moment, and Russell is 4 tenths behind us. We are going up the hill all the way to turn 3. Again, ERS, using as much of it as possible, and we have a nice little late on the brakes. Oh, misjudging it completely. We almost run wide there. We went off the track. Russell does reclaim the position, but we can attack now. We can attack him in turn 4. Again, using as much of the ERS as possible. Late on the brakes. Better exit this time. Nice and clean. A clean overtake against Russell. Good job. Now we are going to chase down the leaders of this Grand Prix. And going on to lap 5. Verstappen is 1 second, and we get hit with a red flag. A red flag, and we just love tap Verstappen yet again. There's something with it. And now let's have a look. This is the cause of the red flag. So we have a spin by the Alpine. Daniel Ricciardo does try to avoid it, but he ends up causing a massive collision over there. Tire off. So now we understand why we have a red flag. We are going to keep the strategy. We can see there we're going to put on another set of intermediate tires. There is a little bit of dry forecasted for the end of the race, but let's focus here. It is 5 lights and away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix yet again, or the sprint race should I say. Not the best start that we've had. Trying to go around the outside of Verstappen. There's a little bit of contact between us, but we keep it clean and he does hold the position. We were not able to make any inroads on them. Now, approaching the 3rd corner, down the inside of Verstappen. We have a little bit of contact between myself and Leclerc. Hamilton has some sort of issue. We're trying to overtake him here. This means that we do get a 2-for-1 special, but they are fighting it. They are fighting back. Late on the brakes, making sure we keep the inside line, getting a better exit. Now, Leclerc and Sainz, the 2 guys ahead of us, we want to make sure that we can get them. We can have a look at our data, and there is another red flag. What? There are 2 red flags in our session. What a turn of events. What caused this red flag now? Let's have a look. And it's another spin by the Haas driver, and the Aston Martin almost crashed into him. But this does mean we are able to put on the soft tires. We are going to have a 2-lap shootout, and we are underway for the Austrian sprint race yet again, getting an amazing exit. Let's have a look. We get a great exit there. We are currently in P1, but there's a little bit of contact between myself, Leclerc, and Sainz. They are falling back. They're dropping very far back. This means that we are able to get a good run. Now, we do see Pierre Gasly is out of the race, and there's a yellow flag in sector 1, but we aren't focused on that. Now we are 3 seconds up. Esteban Ocon. So both Alpines out of this sprint race. That is a disaster for the Alpine team. I'm pretty sure they didn't want this. What a crazy sprint race here in Austria. We set the fastest lap of the sprint race with the 106.4. Going on to the final lap, we are currently 5.6 seconds ahead of everyone else around us. This was an amazing sprint race for us. We're clawing back some decent points for the championship. This is on the rise. This means we do get pole position for the Grand Prix, and yeah, it was a good race with some crazy events. 2 red flags in this race, having to change tires so often. The strategy was really turned upside down, and we ended up losing 4 laps just with the red flags. Now approaching turn 7, getting a good exit here. Verstappen and Russell are still fighting for the 2nd and 3rd. Norris is in 4th, Perez in 5th, and that rounds up the top 5 for the sprint race. Let's have a look as we are on our way to win our first sprint race. Yes, what a great showing. Our car is finally starting to fire on all cylinders, and we are on the charge. This means everything that we are developing, we're heading in the right direction, and this is going to be an amazing race. Starting from pole position, but let's have a look at the actual Austrian Grand Prix.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve. It was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. It's a short lap here in Spielberg with just 10 corners, 7 to the right and 3 to the left, making up the total distance of 2.6 miles. And expect to see a lot of cars running wide today, especially through the last corner, as the wet conditions make the cars skittish through the downhill sections. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Iceman lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Norris, Perez, Hulkenberg, Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, Albon, Tsunoda, Sargent, Fittipaldi, Joe, Magnussen, Sainz, Leclerc, Bottas, Gasly, Ricciardo, and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Joining me on this very wet day is a man who's no stranger to driving in miserable conditions. Anthony Davidson, you've driven open cockpit, you've driven sports cars. How does the wet weather experience change between the different disciplines?
Well, I wouldn't say there's much difference in all honesty. You know, besides the terrifying closing speeds you find on something like sports cars with different categories all sharing the same racetrack, driving in the rain is, well, driving in the rain. Of course, the biggest difference is the fact that Formula One is open cockpit. On one hand, they'll be cold and wet without a roof, but on the other, it's much simpler to pull a tear-off away from the visor than it is to clear a dirty windscreen. So I don't think it's too bad.
That is the classification for this Austrian Grand Prix. 36 laps, 1 stop, 2 intermediate tires. Let's go. We are getting ready to start this Austrian Grand Prix. It's 3 lights, 4, 5, and away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix. Trying to get a good start. Max Verstappen on the inside, using overtake to help get us more power off the line, and going into turn 1, and we have a bit of contact with Verstappen. We have massive damage to our body. Hopefully this doesn't impact us too much in the Grand Prix. 1.1 seconds ahead of Verstappen going into turn 3. We have to manage now the wet weather, and we have to manage damage to our car. This is not the way we wanted to start our Austrian Grand Prix, but it's fine. We continue. We need to put our head down and focus. Currently 1.5 seconds up from Verstappen. An amazing start. Maybe he's also just had a bit of damage after that turn 1 incident. Now, looking at the damage, it is quite bad, but we can't focus too much on it. We just need to focus on the race. We need to make sure we are able to manage the tires and also our pace. We want to just build the pace up ever so slightly, making sure we get a decent race going here. We don't want to throw away a victory. We don't want to throw away a win. And the rain really even outs the playing field between all the drivers, because the setups are fairly similar, and we do set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on lap 8 over here, and we get hit with another red flag. That is 3 red flags in one weekend. What are the chances of this happening? Let's have a look at what caused this red flag. And we have a Ferrari driver spinning there. Yeah, what a crazy weekend here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. Now, we are again underway for the Austrian Grand Prix. And it is 5 lights and away we go. Getting a better start than our first lap. But Max Verstappen has got an even better start than us. He takes the lead of the Grand Prix in turn 1. Trying to avoid contact. Up into overtake. We are going to race up the hill now. Trying to make sure we keep it clean. We don't want to cause any collisions here. And approaching turn 3. Max Verstappen is a little slow going into turn 3, and we retake the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. I don't know what happened there. Maybe he was napping, maybe he had a bit of lack of concentration, but we do secure our P1 spot for the moment. This is still a long race to go. We have 16 laps left in this Grand Prix. The Red Bulls are rapid. We need to make sure we kind of build the gap and maybe, hopefully, build it enough that we can win this Austrian Grand Prix. On lap 10, currently 7 tenths behind me is Verstappen, then comes Russell, then Perez, and then Norris. After lap 10, we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. It also settled down quite a bit, so we were just managing our pace at this point to the guys behind us, trying to increase the gap ever so slightly, not too much, but just so that we can have a more comfortable race. One thing we're also thinking about is when we want to stop. Because I don't think we're going to be able to make it to the end of the Grand Prix. Logan Sargent is out of the race. It means we are hit with a virtual safety car. At least it's not a red flag or a full-fledged safety car. It would kind of mess with a lot of the things that we are doing here. But yeah, we need to kind of look at when we want to stop again, because to go the distance on these tires is going to be asking a lot. And we can see Verstappen has just gone into the pits. So is Norris, and I think Russell follows him. So we need to stop. We need to respond to this. We get a good pit stop here. Hopefully we are able to get out ahead of Verstappen. Sergio Perez does take the lead of the Grand Prix, but that's not our issue at the moment because we are going to be on fresher tires. So if he doesn't pit, we'll be able to attack him within a couple laps. And Verstappen is now 1.4 seconds behind us. Shows you what the new tires did just by pitting a lap earlier. If we had stayed out any longer, he probably would have taken second spot and maybe even the lead. We were chasing down Perez. Perez looks like he is going to dive down into the pits on lap 28. We retake the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Verstappen going to be P2, then Norris P3, and I think Leclerc should come out P5. So Perez is P4. There we go. And on lap 33, we are approaching some back markers. We were absolutely rapid, especially on a set of new intermediate tires. Our fastest lap was a 1:12.5, and we have a slow Ferrari in front of us, and it is Sainz laughing all the way past the Ferrari driver. Felt quite good, but I know they suffered a bit of damage. I don't know what went wrong with Sainz's race, and yeah, we were approaching some back markers and just increasing the gap ever so slightly. Now on lap 36, this is our final lap of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's been a crazy weekend. There's been a lot of things happening. 3 red flags, a virtual safety car. We've had numerous tire strategies that we've had to think of. So yeah, it's been a great race, and we are on our way to win our second race of the season. But this time it hasn't been due to luck. It's been a case of pure performance. Our car has just performed wonders at this track, and it felt amazing to drive. It responded to everything we put it through. The tire wear was good, the pace was good, and no one was able to match us in this Grand Prix. It felt like everyone else was driving on full wet tires and we were on a pair of slick tires. But that is just something for later to have a look at. Hopefully we are still able to keep up with this development. We are approaching the halfway mark of the season, and there you have it. We are the winners for the Austrian Grand Prix. This is our second win of the season. We've also won our first sprint race, and we take the top spot. Let's have a look at who is on the podium with us. Is Verstappen and Norris. Those are your top 3. And that is the Austrian Grand Prix, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to have a look at the standings right now. But before we do that, please like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought of this Grand Prix. We are trying to get to 50 subs before the end of the year. So if you want to, hit that subscribe button for more content on this channel. And yeah, let's have a look now at our standings. We do get 34 points. It puts us P4 in the championship, 66 points behind Verstappen. We might be able to win the Drivers' Championship if we are able to perform and keep up this development. We are 5th in the Constructors. I don't think we'll be winning that. We don't have our teammate with us. He hasn't been able to secure points. But that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. Cheers.